Okay, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great Saturday morning. We're going to get right into the charts. We'll just give it a couple minutes, let a few other people come in. I think a lot of people that jump on these have probably been on these before, but really what I do is just go through all kinds of charts. And they're not usually my charts, they're subscriber charts, so the charts you guys want me to look at. I'm constantly scanning for trade ideas and charts and things to point out in the regular weekly videos. I don't see everything though. There's things that I miss, and sometimes subscribers point out really good trades. So that's this opportunity, the opportunity to look at some charts that maybe I wouldn't normally point out and they wouldn't get covered in the channel. They can get covered here, and oftentimes if we find a good trade idea, then I'll start covering it on the weekly videos and just following up. And one thing to point out really about the trading strategy that I talk about and really my style of trading is oftentimes, I'm not a momentum trader. So if momentum is moving higher, I look for trades that have momentum going in one direction, but I'm looking for signs of that momentum about to shift. That's the move. Oftentimes when you get that change in momentum or that change in trend, that's the move that often catches most people, most traders and most people with positions off guard. And that's usually where that point is where some of the highest profitability is possible, because you catch everyone off guard at that moment where everyone's piled into a momentum trade, and then they all have to scramble to exit. So that's the trading style that I teach, is to spot those trades and then when to take action. It's not so much about being able to just spot this trade setup, but also knowing when to take action on the trade, the sell signal, and then how to manage the trade, how to evaluate the trade, the risk reward, making sure that all trades that you're taking have a higher reward potential than risk. And notice that I said potential, right? It's not a reward guarantee, it's a reward potential. The market's going to do what it wants to do. We can't control that. All we can do is take trades where the probability is in our favor, where the risk reward ratio is in our favor, and where we've got specific support and resistance levels to key off of, and then manage the trade. All right. And if it goes against you or starts to not work, you know where to stop out and get out of the trade and look for another trade. And if it goes in your favor, you know when to take your money off the table. That's really all the concepts that I teach. So those are all covered in my course, all those concepts. Okay, so let's get into some stock charts. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay before I get started. Leave me a thumbs up and leave a comment that the audio is good. I don't want to be talking to nobody or talking to myself. Thumbs up? Okay. Sounds like the audio is probably fine. All right, there is about a 30-second delay on this thing, so when I talk, you're not going to hear it for about 30 seconds, so keep that in mind. All right, we're going to start out with, we'll just start at the top, Vertex Pharmaceuticals. What's the symbol on that one? I don't know that company. VRTX, it looks like. All right, let's see what we got. I think we've looked at this one in the past. So I don't see. Looks like we had a reaction off this up. Didn't actually. Look like they stepped in a little early. So there's some support right there. Now you only have two reactions, 1, 2. So not the most valid trend line. You can see here they stepped in a little early. Let's see if we can't tighten this up and make sense of that. I'd probably go like that at this point and cover this data point right here. See that one? And then this one is just a brief undercut or a bear trap. And that gives us 1, 2, 3, and then a fourth. because clearly that's a reaction right there. Came right down and then just bounced right off of it. So bullish trend. I don't see any change. There's no, it's a bullish trend. Looking at the, yes, you started to put in some negative divergence up at the top right there. But we have had a reaction. You have had a sell-off. So this was a divergent high up here, but you can see that created that leg down, and from high to low, that was a drop of 40%. So I think that satisfies that negative divergence. We have not broken any major trends. Let's look down in here. Bullish divergence right there. So again, see that on the PPO, and let me move this little line thing out of the way. And the RSI, that's an equal low, but basically bullish divergence, meaning when you hit this support, you had bullish divergence, price was moving lower while momentum was moving higher, essentially. What you would have wanted to look for is the confirmation. So right there, when the PPO started to turn up, that's your confirmation that that is a bullish divergence. So you have a new low in price, but a higher low in momentum, and you were at major trendline support. So this thing's bullish, and I don't see any signs of it not being bullish. All right, so I would, if I had to pick long or short on this one, I'd pick long. I don't know. I wouldn't want to buy it right here. I'd prefer it down at this trend line. But you had the opportunity right there, so likely gonna, probably gonna do some of these gap fills, maybe all the way up here to 270.04, or actually, sorry, about 254. I'd say there's the level right there. All right, moving on. Roku. Yeah, Roku. So I think Roku, we'll see here. Potentially coming in for a back test. I've got it marked out right up there. If we do that, yeah, you know what it looks like they're going to do? Let's zoom in on this. Okay, so we still have negative divergence on the RSI, and we still have it on the PPO. See, that's starting to turn down right there. So we still have negative divergence. We haven't made a new high in price, though. This wasn't a new high. Maybe this wants to muddle around sideways for a little bit and then have another leg higher, put in a new high, and hit this trend line way up here. I don't know what that's going to do. There's no trade right now. It's kind of right in the middle of a zone. It's halfway between what I would see as the major resistance line and some support down here at about 376.74, which isn't even the best support. I probably should move that slightly right about there. We'll call it 382. We're right in the middle of the zone, so I wouldn't. There's no trade here. I wouldn't take a trade. But if it goes higher, then that's where I'd want to short, because that's broken. Here's your trendline support right there. You had a divergent high, and if it can keep that negative divergence and make another divergent high, so if it runs up and makes a new high in price and it ends up being a negative divergent high, and the momentum doesn't continue higher and burn through that divergence, then that's the area I'd want to short. So all those conditions would need to line up for that to be a short. Otherwise, I don't see a trade on that one. At least in the short term. This is the daily chart. I mean, if you look back, this thing's clearly in an uptrend. And yeah, I mean, it's clearly in an uptrend. I just would not want to necessarily, I can't even make a trend right there. Wouldn't want to be long right up here, or at least putting new money to work, right? I wouldn't want to just go long. I mean, if I'm long, then maybe I'll stay long, but I wouldn't want to just go long right here. Okay, moving on. And I don't see it as a short either. Not right here. Up here, yeah. I like it up here as a short. I don't like it as a short right there. All right, what other trade ideas do you guys got? BX, is that Blackstone, or which one's that one? Blackstone, yeah. A lot of these stocks, I've been looking at stocks for, over 10 years. But, so a lot of them I know, but Blackstone, all right. I don't see, let's see here. So this is a real estate stock, or maybe they're a private equity fund. That might be what they really are, but I know they do a lot. They got involved in real estate back in the financial Great Recession, they call it, which really wasn't that great. I mean, it was pretty quick, but all right, uptrend line in Blackstone on the daily. And we're starting to build some negative divergence up here, right there, and on the RSI, right there. So we have an uptrend, we have negative divergence. I'd look for a break of trend, right? A break of this downtrend, this trend line right here. Only have 2 reactions on that, so it's not my favorite. I suspect you probably get another reaction. Maybe it comes down, bounces again, then it goes. But either way, I'd probably want to look for a break of this trend. So you could stay long until you see that break of trend, but I'd be on the lookout for it. That's really all I see. And there's really nothing else. I don't see anything else. You have a longer term trend line, it looks like back here. Yeah, it's right about there. Right in there. So, if we break trend and start to, sell off, maybe we come in and hit that longer term trend line over time. This is a pretty, the market in general has had a pretty strong ramp since the COVID lows. 100% correlated to the Fed. All right. So if inflation, my whole thesis, I don't know if it'll play out, but if inflation ends up not being transitory and we start to see higher prices in the ag commodities, that's a key one to watch, because that goes right into restaurant prices, consumer, your grocery bill, all those things. That's a major component of the CPI that the Fed tracks. And also oil. Oil is also a huge component. And I think oil is going to get a pullback, but again, those have huge impacts on that CPI. And if we still see inflation rising, the Fed's they're going to get their bluff called. They're trying to talk things down, the inflation trade down, just using words without actions. They don't want to raise interest rates. If they are forced to, then we're probably going to see some carnage in asset classes. I don't know what they'll do. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to, or if they have the will to do it. Who knows? But there's different ways to play it. We'll just play the side that, seems to make sense. Right now, the gold trade looks good to my perspective. All right, what else do you guys got? Baba. Yeah, I keep that one on watch. All right, over here. This is what I got on Baba. This is coming back to 2015. And here's your uptrend line. You can see we held that support, and we recently broke it. So as I zoom in, there's your sell signal. Came in for a back test, didn't fully get one, but that was a back test right there. All right, so that's why it was rejected. From what I can tell, it got rejected at that trend line, and maybe my trend line's slightly off, but you can see we're selling down. So as far as I can tell, that bull trend in Baba was broken. The only thing that we do have bullish divergence, though. Keep that in mind. Right here is some bullish divergence, and we're below trend. So mixed signals on that one. I'm not so sure. If I don't know, if the chart doesn't look good enough, I just don't take a trade on it. And this one, that trend's a pretty long, that's a long established trend. It's now been broken. So yeah, until you recover that trend, I'd have to go with it being bearish. If this bullish divergence, you can burn through these. Like if we sell off more and it comes down and makes a new lower low, all of a sudden that bullish divergence isn't there. Let's look at the RSI. Yeah, there's bullish divergence there. So, I mean, if you sell off more and make another leg lower, you're probably going to burn through this divergence. And then all of a sudden it's not there anymore, and you don't really have a case to be made for a bullish trade. So I would say bearish until it can recover this trend line. That's what how I'd treat that. All right, moving on. Deere. I'm short Deere, just full disclosure. We'll see what happens. But so far, I mean, it's profitable. I'm profitable on the trade. It's had a little kickback rally. What I did, the way I actually traded it is we felt there's support right here. I had it marked out at 318.84. We didn't quite get there. It started to sell down, got close, and the buyers started to step in. I covered my short trade right down in that area. I was hoping to get it all the way down here. But again, when you have a established trend line, oftentimes people will step in early. So once I saw that the buyers starting to come in, I covered the trade, let it kick all the way back up to this resistance right here, and then I reshorted it. So I guess I'm slightly down on this new entry because I basically reshorted it pretty much right at this trend line and waiting for this to roll over and fail. Now it could, we could bounce up. We could go up here. Maybe we get rejected here. And of course, you'll always have the possibility that was it, that was the selling, and we're off to the races again. So keep that in mind. Manage your risk, manage your stops. Don't let it get away from you. But I think that we're likely going to make another leg lower. All right, I do believe we're actually probably heading down here like this. Not going to fall straight down. It's going to work its way lower over time, probably many months. But on this one, you can see clear uptrend line right here, and the selling really just got started. Now the market doesn't want to sell down. It's just been going sideways, and the Qs and the SPY have been grinding higher pretty much on the strength of the FANG stocks. So really narrow breadth, but they're rallying based on the FANG stocks because they have such heavy market weighting. But then there's a lot of other stocks like the financials, and some of these industrials have really just kind of treaded water sideways. So I think we're just kind of holding out before we make our next leg lower. And let's look at the hourly just to, you had some bullish divergence here on the hourly, and I had it circled right there. You can see I pointed that out in the video. There's your bullish divergence on the hourly, and that got you that rally. That got you this move up 10, 11%. I think that's played its course, and we're likely going to start, continue the downtrend that's on the daily. You typically don't run a big long uptrend like this, break trend, and then just have one little move down, and that's it. Usually at least an ABC, so that would be something like A, B, C, and then you'll be done. That's a lot more common. So yeah, that's what I think on that one. I think we're going lower. Levels to watch, you've got 366.60 as a level of resistance. Right now, this level of support sitting there at about 351.50. All right, so we break that, an impulsive break, and I think we're likely heading right down to 318.85. Since we got close last time, I think we'll probably slice through that and start to work our way into this trading range. Right in here. This will be our new trading range. And a tag of that bottom, that's where I'm going to likely want to cover and be out of the trade. I don't think there's going to be much beyond that. Of course, there is always the potential. You've got major levels of support way down here too. So there's always the potential for a grand slam. Usually, what I would do if I'm trying to trade it for something like huge like this, I won't have a full-size position. By the time I start hitting these support levels and I'm covering, maybe I'll have a quarter of the position size that I had in the beginning for, in hopes that it plays out for more. Okay. UPST. All right, what's that one? And guys, leave me a thumbs up if you just joined. I got 21 likes. There's 65 of us. Leave me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that. It helps the channel. My channel's not huge. It doesn't grow, super fast, but this channel is really built for traders, and it's really designed to help show people, trading. And there's just a lot more people that just want to put money into a 401k and hope the market always goes up. And then when the market goes down, watch CNBC and wonder and let them tell you why it went down. So there's just not a lot of, appetite for technical analysis because it's, it's kind of like math, it can be boring. But when you're making money, that's what the end game's about, right? It's not about the charts. It's about, money going into your account. Yeah, I see it's starting to break. This is a trend line. You've got 1, 2, 3. We don't need that one. Big gap fill down here at 62.76. So that would be a target for sure. You'll want to step in a little early, because if it's such an obvious gap, so probably step in early if you were going to short this. Looking at the breakdown, it's not impulsive, right? It's just drifting sideways. I need to see impulsive. So what I would look for is maybe it bounces up, hits the trend line, or even recovers, but look for an impulsive breakdown, a big red candle, all right? That's what you want to see. And the way I usually do it is if it shows up on the hourly first, I'll take the trade, and if it recovers that, I'll just bail for a very small loss. That gives me good positioning if that candle is going to work out. And starting to break, but it's not impulsive. So that's all I have to say about that. If you get that impulsive breakdown, look for the gap fill, 62.75. All right, what else do you guys got? MELI. MELI. Okay. Meaty Mercado Libre. I don't know what this is, but all right. Gap fill, or gap down here. Clear gap. So we'll mark that out. You always want to mark out, especially these big gaps. When things get moving in a direction of a gap, they'll usually fill the gap. It doesn't mean that we're going to move in the direction of the gap, but... All right, so that's probably what I'd do. I'd say we have an uptrend. We broke trend. That's a nice sell signal right there. See that impulsive breakdown on the daily, just big red candle. Back test to me. So, and maybe it wants to go up and actually hit that trend line, but anywhere up there, good spot to short, I think. Let me just check the one thing though on the daily, bullish divergence there on the PPO and on the RSI. Let me mark that out. So that's a divergent low, bullish divergence. So with that bullish divergence there, I don't know, because I don't see negative divergence really. Here's your former high, and you made a new high in momentum. Here's your all-time high, obviously. And we even, we're kind of equaling that momentum. So there's some momentum there. Not my favorite trade. I'd probably move on personally. What else do we got? TXG. All right. Yeah, and the thing about divergence, and I think it gets really multiplied on this channel, is, when something has divergence and I'm looking at a trade setup, I talk about it every day, because it's usually, it's a setup, and I want to make sure that I'm updating everyone, because eventually you get that trigger. But when I put it out in a video every day, it seems like it'll never happen, because you're hearing about it every day. That's just the nature of divergences. When they see them, they can build for a while, but just understand that, they're usually typically just building energy to be released to one way or the other. So when they finally go, it's usually pretty impulsive. Yeah. I don't have a good trend line, at least not right there. That's probably your trend line right here, maybe, because you had a gap reaction, so a gap down and a big move down. And before that, you had here's the trend, held support, closed below it though, and then held support right there. Couple reactions. We are getting a reaction up here though. You can see we ramp up, hit it, and even right here, recover it and then fail. So you're getting these doji candles as you run into resistance. So that's another reaction. So I'd say that that's about it. And yeah, that was a new divergent high right there. negative divergence. So that's negative divergence, a new divergent high right into resistance, trendline resistance. That's the best setup that you want to look for, you know. Well, I mean, that's a very good setup. If you can get, if you break trend and then you back test into major resistance with a new divergent high, very high, just tons of resistance, very high probability that it's going to work out to the downside. So this one, well, before I get off this one, so your reaction lows, I would say, would be a target, right? Right there. Could be a little lower. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll say it's right about there. 126.20 up to 126.50 or so. That would be my target, at least. Yeah, that'd probably be my target for right now. And that's a good size drop, 30%. Ideally, if it gets a little high, you know, I'd rather short it right up here, because they can chop it around on, and if you went short here and they ramp it up, that's a 10% move against you. So it's better if you can get it right up there, because then if they move it higher, you know you're wrong, you get out maybe a 3-4% loss. Here, if they move it up against you into the trend line, you still don't know that you're wrong, and they could still run it into resistance and then fail, or they could run it up and then move it higher, and by the time you realize you're wrong, you're down 15-20% or so. So not the best positioning, ideally up here. The opportunity was right here. The best opportunity was a couple days ago. So if you get another opportunity, then that is still the same opportunity. All right, VIPS, VIPS. Let's see here. What is this one? Is this a retail trade? I don't know. It's already had a good size move down. That's for sure. No real trend line. You know, I can't say this is a trend line because you got 1, 2. 2's not enough. So I can't verify that as a trend line. I can't make a clean trend line. We'll try that one. All right, we can say that one. It's not the highest confidence. Let's zoom in here real quick just to see what we looked like down here. So you held the one little undercut. Yeah, that's fine. This is a valid area reaction right here, because look, you held support. They made it look like it wasn't going to break. The very next day, gap up, and it was on earnings too. So, you know, things that break down right before earnings, don't trust that. You know, I never take anything that breaks down right before earnings. So you have that's a valid reaction, and then that would put us, right here. So there's 3. All right, so you have an uptrend line. You have seeing if we, not really bullish divergence quite yet. Let's zoom in. Sometimes you have to really tighten it up. Yeah. Equal low-ish, but it's not the best divergence. Let's look at the RSI. Yeah, so you don't have it there in the RSI. So you have a downtrend in the short term, and you're coming into the more major support. A break of that support is bearish, and so far we should hold, we're holding that support line. So buy it support is what, would be in my opinion. Okay. What else do we got? Nike. Yeah, that one's ripping, huh? Nike is ripping. Ally. All right, we'll go to apps first. All right, so, there's your support right there, 65.16. Drifting side, I think this is going lower. I just gut feeling on this one. It's just kind of treading water, but I think when it's all said and done, we're going to be down here filling this gap at 16.55. So you had an uptrend line right here, and we broke trend. Nice clear sell signal, back test for a little while. It's been treading water. A break of this level at about 65.40, I think brings us down all the way down to here, 40.37. And then let me extend these out, and then Again, I think we're going to work our way lower down to about 16.45 over time. Now that's not going to happen unless the market starts, unless we get a correction, 20% correction in the S&P 500 or something like that, which I do think is going to happen very soon. Possibly starting next week, but who knows? I mean, it's hard to call the exact week that something's going to happen, but charts tell me that there's clearly an opportunity for that to happen. This one you have negative divergence, and we haven't made a new high, so no new divergent highs. So if that happens, then likely it will be a new divergent high. I'm not so sure that's going to happen, so I don't know. I think it's going lower. All right, moving on. Ally. I'm still short this one. Full disclosure, I'm still short Ally. As far as I can tell, that looks like a bear flag. So you've got the flagpole. Let me mark it out here, see if I can draw it. You got the flagpole, you chop around, you flag out, and then you continue. All right, so looks like probably heading down. This level that I have is not my favorite. I do want to point that out. I can't make a perfect level, so that's where I had it because it was the most recent support reaction right there. So we'll just leave it there. 43.20. I like this level down here a little better. 33.50. Yeah, so that's what I got. But ultimately, I still think lower. All right, somewhere in this area, I think there's a very high probability that we get that, and likely next week. We'll see. No, and the other thing is, well, let's secure on the daily. Starting to get some bullish divergence. Barely. Let's see. Well, no, not really. Sorry, I take that back. Yes, the momentum is trending up on the RSI. Not so much on the PPO, but on the RSI, it's trending up. But look, we didn't make a new low in price right there. It's just, it pretty much was an equal low. So you can say it's bullish divergence in the short term. And we'll see if that plays out. But usually what I think will happen is we're probably going to continue this bear flag, and probably keep that bullish divergence. And then maybe that will be the near term low. And then we'll get a bullish reaction. All right. So I still think we're heading lower in the short term. We'll look, I'm going to look to probably cover this trade into a sell off. Maybe we get down here to 43.50, somewhere right in there. But a move down into this area, I'll be looking to cover. All right, moving on. Douy, D-O-U-Y, or Y-U. Not a lot of history here. I don't see bullish divergence, really. Let me look. No bullish divergence on, well, you do have bullish divergence. It's not confirmed yet. So here's the PPO, and you're like that right now, and yet you're making a new lower low in price, but not confirmed. So if I zoom back in to the PPO, this can continue lower, and then you don't have bullish divergence. What you want to see is this to turn up, and that would confirm your bullish divergence. Now, again, bullish divergence or bearish divergence isn't a reason to short or go long. Then you need to look for breaks of trend line support or resistance. On this one, we have a downtrend line. It looks like it's right about there in the short term, at least. And it's likely a bullish falling wedge, something like that. All right, so potential bullish falling wedge. But what I would want to wait for is a break to the upside, bullish breakout, and that would be your bull signal, your buy signal. But again, a lot has to happen. You want to see that confirm. You want to see this bear or bullish falling wedge start to firm up, and then you want to see a break to the upside or a buy signal. So no trade for me until I would see that and see those things firm up. All right, moving on. Oh yeah, and then if you do get it, let me point out some levels, because I'll likely won't be watching this one. Yeah, well, it's right about here. See, support, resistance, resistance. So a bullish break likely going to go up 1075-ish, right in that area as your first level of major resistance, likely going to get a reaction there. All right. Nike. Nothing bearish about this chart that I can see. New high in momentum. New high in price. Yeah, I don't know. It's at all-time new highs, right? So there's just not, you know, when you're at all-time new highs, no negative divergence. There's not really a trend line. You know, we had a trend line. We broke the trend line. It did play out for, you know, played out for, if you took the sell signal, which you got, wasn't the best sell signal, but let's say right there, that was a 10% drop from the sell signal, but it definitely chopped around on you a lot. I don't see anything bullish on this chart right now. Doesn't mean it won't show up in the future, but, you know, I definitely wouldn't short this. Let's just put it that way. Cloudflare, net. Yep, back. This one is actually, yeah, let's throw this. I'm going to throw this up on my shorts watch list. I'm not short this thing, but definitely looks good for a short thing. All right, uptrend line right there. Break of trend or sell signal. Chopped around a little bit, but, you know, still failed. You can see that, look at the big rejection right there on that resistance line. Back test again, back test again. Each back test, though, is, this back test here wasn't a new high, so it wasn't another divergent high. This one is. So negative divergence into major resistance. You can see that doji right there when it hit the trend line. Boom, you know, and then just the sellers stepped right in. So, yeah, that looks good for a short. If it can pop, you know, I doubt you're going to get another pop up to that trend line. But if you do, that'd be another area to short. Otherwise, I think we come down 86.99 or 87 as a level of support. Probably get a reaction at this high here too. Let's mark that out. See that candle, that breakout candle right there? Big breakout candle, and that was the former high. So that's likely going to be your first level of support, 94.91. Below that, obviously 87. And then below that, you got this big range right here. And the low of the range is 61.83. That's all I see right now, those three levels. I like that for a short. And, I like it, obviously, just, right at the trend line. And your opportunity was a couple days ago, a week ago. You might not get another opportunity. So, this is one of those ones where it could make sense to step in with a starter short, and if you see continued selling, you could add to it. Just my opinion. All right, moving on. What? Boston beer. Well, I know Sam ripped higher on the shutdown. Yeah, and that's already started to come down. But yeah, that was a big ripper. So you've got negative divergence right there. And again, it's very it's common, most of the charts, and I know I talk about negative divergence a lot because the market's extended at all-time highs. So a lot of these charts are, just building negative divergence. They're just continuing to build it, setting up for that next big trend, as far as I can tell, to the downside. And if you really, each new divergent high that the S&P 500's made has been followed by like a 10 to 15% correction. You can go back and look at the charts, see when we had negative divergence, and you'll see that once you get that negative divergence, it builds for a little while, and then you get a correction. Builds for a little while, and that's what we're seeing across the board in a lot of charts is we're just continuing to extend. So there's your divergent high right there. And that's your last, your last divergent high. See the momentum, lower momentum. So you look for a break of trend line support, which, is probably right there. right there off the gap. Probably tighten that up right about there. Yeah, we'll say it's that. So sell signal was already engaged. Then you got a back test, and boom, down she goes. So I'd say we're going lower. I'd look for this level as support right here. You know, that you had a gap up, a pretty impulsive move. So I'd say down to 680.26 and right there. That'd probably be my final level on that one, which would be 448.51. That's a huge drop. So I don't know about that second one. The farther away, the less probable. But it's always possible. So this one's more probable. Excuse me. 675 or something. That's more probable. And this is less probable. All right, Seaworld. Okay. All right. There's your uptrend line. Bullish trend, not broken. Could probably tighten it up just a little bit. Okay, so you have a bullish trend, and that trend is not broken. You have clear negative divergence. So it's very likely we're going to break trend. And probably pretty soon, I think, on this one. This is a setup. I'm going to add this to my watch list. This is a good one. No action to be taken yet, at least from my perspective. You know, I'm not going to short this yet. But bullish trend, all right, you have negative divergence, a very clear negative divergence. So divergent high, divergent high. We're now at trend line support, so they're still holding the trend. We look for that impulsive break, all right, that sell signal. And the way I do these, the way I trade these, if we get that impulsive break, I'll usually take it on that first impulsive hourly close. If I get that close on the hourly chart and it's nice and, you know, it's not going to recover the trend line, that's usually where I enter. I don't always wait for the daily candle. I like to get in on that hourly. And then if it reverses and recovers, then I'll just, you know, exit with a small loss. But I typically like to get in, you know, right when the opportunity shows itself. So this one has a thin zone. This is a thin zone right here. See how there's no trading? It's just straight up. It was just day in, day out of just ramping higher. So when we get that sell signal, there's probably some support, right? See if we can find it. It's right in there-ish. Let's tighten that up a little bit on the hourly chart. Yeah, I'd say it's right about there. So you break trend, and if you break this level, 46.45, we should trade right through that thin zone, and likely coming down to, I'd say right about there. I like that as a level of support right there, 36 bucks. Now, if I zoom back, you can see that was former resistance right here. They just briefly popped above it. That was a bear trap. Just barely popped above it, and then boom, down she goes. So you had a reaction here, brief trap, and then sell off. And then as you zoom in, you can see that was resistance. Come down, finally break out. Once you broke and it was confirmed with the see the daily close above it, boom, it just was straight to the moon. You know, the buyer stepped in. So that's the level of support. 35, you know, it's about 36 bucks, we'll call it. All right, I like this for a short if you get the sell signal or when you get it. And I don't know when it's going to come. We could grind higher and for months or, you know, who knows. But this one's on watch. All right, this is a good trade for a short trade. And if you want to be conservative, you could wait also for this break, 46.50. Wait for the impulsive break of that. And the trade, once you break that, should be straight down to 36 bucks. So let's say you wait, you know, that's a 23% drop. I know it doesn't look like much because I use log scaling. You know, if you take off log scaling, it's more like that. You know, so it would be, you know, a good size drop. All right, moving on. Good trade idea right there. We'll keep that one on watch. All right, what else do you guys got? Yep, the Fed's obviously involved. But, you know, I play the Fed in two ways. A lot of people, they just want to buy stocks and think the market will never go down because the Fed won't let it. First off, you have to understand, the Fed loses control, all right? The market, when the market goes down, it's not because the Fed will let it sometimes. Sometimes the Fed doesn't want to let it, but they just lose control or they make a policy mistake. So the market's going to do what it wants to do. So keep an eye on that. I mean, but the other way to play the Fed is if you really believe that the Fed is not going to let the market go down, then you have to believe that the dollar is going to go up. Or, sorry, the dollar is going to go down. That they are going to punish, they are going to devalue the dollar. And I think, I personally think that is partially what they're going to do, but I still don't believe that the market will, that they can just keep the market up forever. The charts are building negative divergence and telling me that we're likely going to have a correction. Doesn't have to be a crash, but correction. And, so I look at the gold miners as well, though, and that's why, I play those. I've been pretty right and accurate on trading the gold miners over the last few years. That's been one of the easier trades to call, buying the gold miners and getting rid, selling them when the charts look bearish and then buying them back when they look bullish. I've been pretty good on that sector. I've been buying the gold miners recently. Divergence, can it be accumulation? Well, yeah, sure, it can. I mean, you can, but it's not really accumulation. Accumulation, no, I would say divergence is not accumulation, but it depends, right? So if you're selling down, like down here, right? Let's go back to the COVID drop. So here's your COVID drop, and here's your bullish divergence right there. It started to show up right there. Bullish divergence. So that was accumulation all down in here. Okay, that was accumulation. So the price is still moving down, but the momentum's starting to move up. And so yes, divergence can be accumulation, but it's usually, when prices are moving down and you have bullish divergence, that's accumulation. And when prices are moving up and you have negative divergence, that's distribution. All right, so that's typically how that works. Peloton, well, that one is, I haven't been trading that. We are at resistance right here. So yeah, it could be. There's no real divergences showing me which way it wants to go, so I don't have a trade on this right now. We caught this trade. The trade on this one was really shorting it up. Well, this is where I shorted it right here, where I have it circled. Go back and watch the video from December 28th. And you'll see that trade short that I talked about and the reason why I got short and, the technical case that was laid out. And then, it fell all the way down here to $80. So almost a 50% drop. The thing got halved. So I don't see a trade in this anymore, at least right now. Yeah. Car. Oh, is this electrical? What is this? Oh, Carrier. Yeah, I have this one on watch on I have it under this home builder. They build air conditionings and stuff. So it has negative divergence. It's continuing to extend. Looks like we've got a trend line here now that I don't quite, well, let's see here. It's right about there. Okay, so I'd wait for a break of that trend line. It's still bullish. There's no break. But you break that trend line, then you're likely, I would look for the first level of support at 42 and then down here, down at 36.50. All right, that's what I got. No reason to short it yet, but building negative divergence. Okay, guys, I'm going to go for about 10 more minutes. Leave me a thumbs up if you guys are finding value here. If you guys haven't taken the course, I'd recommend it. I mean, it's not free, so I do make money on it. But I price it at $99, so it's affordable for most. I know that, I know some of the other people on YouTube like Mayor Barack, and they're charging thousands of dollars. And, I've looked at his trading style, and I think that it can work. He's more of a day trader and a momentum trader. But also when you look, they like to show how much money they're making. But if you look at the trade size, the position size that guy takes, he's a multi-millionaire. So he'll buy 4,000 shares or something. I mean, it's $1.5 million worth of value, and then he'll tell you how he made 30 grand or something. And that's fine. It's just outside of the realm of most, at least, people on YouTube. So my strategy is better for people that don't have $1.5 million to throw around. And you just have to wait. Mayor makes his money in a day. This strategy, you got to wait. It's swing trading, right? But you build on those gains. You build your account up. EXEL. Let's see what that one is. A biotech. So biotechs can be very choppy. Just understand that, because a lot of it's based around news and the reports and trials and all that. It's a big move, big gap down last week. So in general, it looks like we've got this kind of pivot point, or it's right about here. You can see we resistance and then some support. So kind of a support shelf where this thing trades down to. It's not perfect. It's more like a range. The range is really, if I want to mark out the full range, I'd probably do something like this. All right. So that's a support range. Until that breaks, that would be support. Negative momentum, negative price. No divergence. So here's your momentum. Moving down. Here's your price making lower highs and lower lows. Downtrend. So I'd say we're likely heading down to this support range. That's where I'd want to be a buyer, most likely. Of course, I'd want to see bullish divergence and stuff. That's all I have on that one. Yeah, dollar. You know what? I think the dollar just broke down on Friday. I didn't look at the DXY, but I did look at the dollar futures. So I do glance at the futures. I don't always point them out on this, but let's see what we got here. It's not a huge breakdown, but there's your hourly chart. So you got support, support, support all through here. And a breakdown candle right there. So maybe the dollar heads down to 91.50. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm bullish on gold and gold miners. I keep this dollar in the gold mining watch list just because they're kind of inverse to each other. These look good. Obviously I could be wrong, but many of them have bullish divergence. Some of them need to go down some more, like sand, I think, could go down some more. Some of these royalty ones look like they could sell off some more. But then the miners, like Wheaton and Barrick, HMY, I've got some Agnico Eagle, and I've got some of this AU. Look at that. It undercut that support range. So here's the trend line, held support, undercut it, and then recovered. And it also has bullish divergence. At least I think it does. It's on the hourly. See the bullish divergence? Making new lows, dipping low in price, higher highs in momentum. So that's at least, I think, good for a short-term move higher. Doesn't have to hold, but I think we're, We have a bullish falling wedge. I don't know. These look good from my perspective. I put out a gold mining video a couple days ago, so if you want to go back and look at some of that, I covered many of those. VIX, yeah. You know, I'm waiting for a sell signal in the SPY, and really I'm looking at the Qs because that's where the strength has been, at least the last couple of weeks, has been in tech. So I want to watch I want to watch for a sell signal in tech, and if we get that, then you know there will probably be a play in the Qs. In the VIX, but I don't see that sell signal yet. Amazon is just sideways. There's nothing going on with Amazon. Another divergent high. You can see there's a divergent high. There's a divergent high. There's a divergent high. Trading sideways. I mean, if you've been in this thing, it's gone nowhere. You know, at times you've been in the green and then you're in the red and it's just chopping sideways on you. So we have negative divergence. I think Amazon's going lower, you know. Just the negative divergences that have been continuing without being taken out tells me that this is just a big wall of resistance and we're topping out. That's as far as I can tell as of right now. And we'll just, you know, we can continue to make these slightly new highs, giving people hope, and then it fails. So that's what I'd look for. You know, if we pop and make a new high, and then does it fail? Bigger picture, you're still above major support. Here's 2009 lows. There's support. There's support. We have 3 reactions, so I think we come down, you know, maybe we just trade sideways and eventually work our way into this trend line. And then maybe we hold that, and then off we go, or we break. But kind of dead money right now on that one. All right, so I'm going to just do 2 more. All right, we're going to do 2 more. You guys give me a thumbs up, and we'll just do 2 more. Try to find some that are interesting. Found some good trade ideas before I wrap up on these ones. They're you know, I covered a couple longs that look decent. You know, personally, I'm long the miners. Now, again, the miners can be whippy, so you want to make sure that you you know, trade those and manage your risk. But C's and net both look really good. C's is a great setup, a short setup, not a actionable short yet, but a good setup. So I covered that. Net is you know, net is potentially actionable, you know, especially on a back test of the trend line. I covered that, so you can go back and watch that. This car one looks good as a short. I talk about this in my video. This is on my watch list. This is Avis Rent-A-Car. Good short setup, but not an actionable trade yet. Need that sell signal. If we get a breakdown in the markets next week, then we'll likely get these sell signals. And yeah, I'm not going to say a crash is coming, but I think we're going to get a correction. 10 to 20%, you know, at least 10% I think is very probable. And obviously you could get more. Likely going to come on the Fed, trying to continue to talk hawkish, trying to quell the inflation trade. Who knows, you know, but believe me, you know, if rates have to rise, the tech will suffer. And tech really is the market in terms of the market cap weighting. We have a sell signal in the financials, and the financials did not look strong last week. We have a sell signal in the industrials. They kind of had a kickback rally, but still not able to recover support. And then we had the FANG stocks rallying, which keeps the market kind of moving higher, grinding higher because of those large market cap weightings. All right. Okay, so I'm just ANF. You know, no, I never shorted ANF. I think I've been watching it. And here's ANF. I think it's just getting started, so it could be a short. I haven't shorted it yet. But here it is. Negative divergence. Look at that. We're just continuing that negative divergence. That's that divergent high. So we get a breakdown. I think it'll come next week. But yeah, we should start to sell off. I'd look at 30 as a level of support, and then 23, let's say 24. But yeah, see the support. So that 30, about that 30, I think is a high probability area of support. That's a drop of about 33%. I'd probably, that looks good. I do like this one short, and, if you can get it at the trend line, maybe, if it pops up, you get it up at 48.50, then that's obviously the best low risk area, but I don't know if you're going to get that. We did have a tag of resistance right here. So on the short term, let's just look for an area. This is what I'd look for, something like this. There's your hourly. They've been kind of trying to hold this. You get that hourly break of that. I'm going to say that's a sell signal from my perspective, and we'll start the short trade down to 30, that level. I like that, and I actually don't think I've added that one to my watch list, but I did check it a couple times last week to see what was going on, but I haven't shorted it. I probably should have. All right, one more. That's because that's a really good one. %10 oil, yeah. All right, guys, I'm just scanning. All right, here's one, AA, which is American Airlines. And the travel stocks have all broken trend. Or I don't know if they've all broken trend, but the ones I've been watching. So here's Jets. This was the uptrend line. It was continuing for a while to build negative divergence. We had that kind of marked out right there and right there. And you got a sell signal right there. There's your sell signal. This trade's already started to play out, so it's not necessarily actionable, but I think it's important to realize how these usually play out. So then you fall to support, which is about $24. We're gonna, we're getting a reaction. Maybe we run up like this and then head lower. Probably right there. This is Jets, but and I'll get to AA. I just want to point that out. So, sorry, AA must not even be that. What's that? Alcoa? Yeah. Well, we got that wrong. Sorry, I was thinking AAL. Here's American Airlines uptrend line, broken sell signal, back test, and rejecting. Here's Love Southwest uptrend line, sell signal right there. Heading lower. Probably down to 49.30. All right, so these travel stocks are all breaking down. Right when the market's opening up and everybody's traveling, and you'd think it'd be the most bullish, they've already started to break down because they already priced that in. The market looks ahead 6 months, 6 to 9 months. The market looks ahead, so the market knew the opening was coming. That's what all this rally was on, and now that that's priced in, people take their profit. So if you think the market's going to rally forever, remember the market's looking out 6 to 9 months. What happens in 6 to 9 months? Where's inflation at? Where's the market priced in the reopening already? Is the Fed having to raise interest rates, or at least trying to talk about raising interest rates? The market's going to start to price some of that stuff in. So just keep that in mind. It's not about what happens today. It's about 6 to 9 months out. And now I'll look at AA, and we're going to wrap up. Alcoa. So this one probably should be a short, I would think, but because I know like FCX, Freeport McMoran, is still a good short. All right, so but this one's not. All right, there's an uptrend line. Alcoa. You probably have. Yeah, we just have. It looks like kind of an upward channel, basically. The top of the channel isn't as clear. So, but upward channel, and you've got negative divergence. At least I think you do. Let me make sure. Yep. There's your divergent high, lower momentum. And so we're building negative divergence, but we haven't broken the trend line support, and that's all the way down here. So I would, that's a 15% down. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to short this here. if I was long, I'd probably just stay long until you break this trend line. I think what's likely going to happen is maybe we just kind of muddle around, hit the trend line, bounce, then come back in and break, something like that. Even the bounce could run up and make a new all-time high as well. So that's why I say if I was long, I'd probably just stay long. But you get a break of that trend line, that would be my cue to exit, and that would also be my cue to jump onto a short if I was going to. It's in the middle of the range, so it's not imminent in terms of like a sell signal. If we were going to break, you've got some support. Let's see if we can find the support. There's some support. That'd be your first level of support. 31.68. And next level of support is right about here. $25. All right, so if you guys are interested in this, let me know in a comment when this thing triggers, if it does trigger as a sell signal. But again, it's got a ways to go. So that's all I got, everyone. I hope you guys found some value. Let me know if I'm doing a good job. Let me know where I can do better. And leave comments. Give me a thumbs up, and I will catch you guys on Tuesday because the market's closed on Monday. So everyone have a good weekend. Rest up. See you guys on Tuesday.